Good morning to everyone. I welcome you for the fourth day of the slot 2 of AACT sponsored 6 days short-term training program on the topic a hands-on approach for design and implementation of digital circuits using open source CAD tools. So we are in the fourth day, session 1. The resource person for our session is Dr. Agastha Sophie, Associate Professor Senior, VIT Chennai, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. And I also, on behalf of management, principal and HOD ECE, I take this opportunity in welcoming you all for this session of the STTP. And also, I take this opportunity to introduce our resource person for this session. Dr. P. Agastha Sophie Bulett completed her BE in Electronics and Communication Engineering and ME in VLSI in the year 2006 and her PhD in the field of VLSI signal processing from Anna University, Chennai. She has more than 25 years of teaching experience and she has handled more than 20 different subjects in ECE related subjects and 50 projects in UG and PG level. And she has published more than 20 research papers in international conferences and journals. Her career highlights includes receiving research awards in the university level, and she is also a reviewer in IEEE transactions on VLSI systems, and she has produced more 100% results in more than 10 times in various subjects, and she has organized and conducted faculty development programs, workshops, symposium, and VLSI hackathons, and she is also an IEEE student chapter counselor. Her areas of expertise include VLSI design, processors, high performance computing, low power and VLSI signal processing, and her research work includes signal processing, implementation of signal processing algorithms such as FIR filtering, long length FFT processors for OFDM applications, and image processing algorithms, and the efficient low power implementation of the above said algorithms in standard cell based design and as well as with respect to the top FPGA based design. And today's for our session, ma'am is going to deliver on introduction to simulation of Verilog design using free online model sim tools. On behalf of Department of ECE, I welcome you, ma'am, for this session. And you can now start your session, and you can share your screen, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Usha Bano, and thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in this program. I have to share the full window.
You just share. We will verify whether it is whether we can view it from here.
Are you able to see my screen? No.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Make it full screen, ma'am. One minute. I'll take on a picture of it. Kindly make it full screen, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. We'll start. Okay. Very good morning to one and all present here. And once again, I thank Dr. Usha Bano and Valiam Engineering College for organizing this workshop, this faculty development program. I think this is very useful for all of us who are there in the teaching community. And for the past one semester, we were in we were in lockdown and pandemic and taking online classes. And taking online classes, theory classes is okay, but for lab we need to we need to do a little more work. Okay, dig into what is available online and free tools and all. Otherwise, we have to find out different ways of taking our server, the server in our university, and how to give it through the students via VPN or VDA and so on. Okay, so in BA, I am Dr. Agastha Sophie, and I am working in VIT Chennai in School of Electronics Engineering. And in VIT, we have been giving all the labs in remote, and especially for MTech students, for the FPGA based system design, this model sim, usually what they will do is using Xilinx directly will start, because it can be used for downloading also. So we'll start directly with the Xilinx ISE tool. But model sim is a very powerful tool which the students do not use at all. Okay, but during because of this pandemic, now this model sim is a standalone tool, and now this is available as a free. Always it is available as a free open source software, where the students can download it and use it for about 6 months. So it will work for 6 months. After that, they have to again download, uninstall, and reinstall it again. So this model sim is a very common popular tool. Okay, mostly people use Xilinx ISE or Ultra Quartus. Okay, but what is inside the Ultra Quartus and what is inside Xilinx ISE is again this model sim. So for the simulator, that is an integrated tool. Xilinx ISE is a integrated software environment where you can start from simulation, from design entry to simulation to synthesis, and then mapping everything. You can finally download into the FPGA. Similarly for Quartus also, it is a full it's a full set of tools where where the target is a Ultra device, and you can download it, download your digital design to the FPGA. So that is a compact of integrated. But even in both the tools, the the simulation part is done by model sim. They have a slight variation, and they have integrated model sim into their own tools. So that is the power of model sim, because this is a very versatile simulator. Okay, so model sim, yeah, I want to tell whatever I wanted to tell about model sim. All the benefits are all the advantages already told you. So now this is from Mentor Graphics. The company is from Mentor Graphics. Now Mentor Graphics is acquired by Samsung, but anyway the brand name Mentor Graphics will be there. So model sim will be called as it's a brand of it is a product of Mentor Graphics. The brand will be Mentor Graphics only. So this is the and it is very design entry can be in hardware description languages like Verilog or VHDL, and it accepts System C also, some versions, and then it can it will accept one second. System Verilog also. Okay, System C and System Verilog, and VHDL and Verilog. So all these programs can be simulated, compiled and simulated using this model sim. So this model sim, why we are in where it comes in the design flow is in this first two blocks. So design flow, I have taken a FPGA design flow. Everyone knows the VLSI design flow. So for FPGA design flow, it is slightly different, but from ASIC design flow. But from ASIC and FPGA, the first few things will be, few blocks or steps will be the same. So initially you specify the problem statement, and you convert your problem statement, the solution, into a hardware description language. So you write it in DHDL, okay, or Verilog, or C, or whatever, a high level language. This HDL is also a high level language. So you write in this, and C is also the System C. Okay, you can write any of this, and now you can simulate it using model sim or QSIM. Okay, Quartus model sim. So here this model sim comes. So here you can do the functional verification for the different test cases for your design, for the different test cases. Okay, there may be a different scenario. Okay, there may be different cases. Those cases can be checked whether your design is passing all the cases. It can be checked in the simulation step. After that, you have the synthesis step, place and route, timing analysis, that comes in between every step, and then finally after mapping, okay, and then you will get the bit file for the FPGA configuration, and then downloading into the FPGA. Okay, so the synthesis, place and route, these are all specific to the target. Okay, that is target the implementation platform, whether you are going for a standard cell ASIC design, or whether you are going for a Ultra FPGA, whether you are going for a Xilinx FPGA or some other company's FPGA, and also it depends on which family of the FPGA you are going to use. So depending on all those things only, the synthesis will happen. So for the synthesis, if you give the netlist from your if you give your Verilog file, okay, and the timing constraint file and the library file, okay, the file which is pertaining to the particular platform on which you are going to implement, the synthesis tool will synthesis and give the netlist. So from the synthesis tool you will get the netlist and so on. Okay. And so here we stop. The scope of this session is only the simulation. So we'll do the simulation in ModelSim. Okay. So now other HCL simulators are ModelSim from Mentor Graphics, okay, and Active HCL from Aldec, and then ISE simulator from Xilinx. Okay. So Xilinx we call it as iSim. It is called as iSim. Similarly for Quartus 2, which is from the FPGA, it is called as QSIM. Okay, so Quartus simulator is called as QSIM, and then iSim, and then from Synopsys, they are very big EDA vendors, Synopsys and Cadence. So from Synopsys you have VCS, and in Cadence you have NC Launch, okay, for digital design, and Silos is a free simulator which was coming with the initial days with some books, with some textbooks. We were having the Silos simulator, and then online tool we have the EDA Playground. Many of them are using this. Colleges are, and this EDA Playground also you can simulate System C also, everything, and compile all those things. Similarly you have Coding Road. So these are few of the HCL simulators. You have many more simulators also. Okay. So now what is special about ModelSim? The ModelSim, it provides a multi-language environment, as I already told you. It accepts VHDL, Verilog, System C, and System Verilog also. Okay, sometimes System Verilog also, and includes a inbuilt C debugger, and it can be used independently or in conjunction with Xilinx or Vivado is another tool from Xilinx. Okay. And Xilinx ISE, and QuestaSim is from again from Mentor Graphics. Okay, so it is almost used with the Quartus. Quartus is from Ultra, Xilinx from Xilinx company, Vivado from Xilinx, and QuestaSim is another tool from ModelSim. Mentor Graphics. So all these companies, all these other simulators, they are also using this ModelSim. In conjunction with, they have a slight variation. Okay, I have this ModelSim from Ultra version also I have. Okay, so there are different student version and Ultra version, and then professional edition. There are so many versions of ModelSim. Okay, so what is the features? It is native compiled. Native compile means native compiler. You have cross compiler and native compiler. This native compiler, whatever may be the processor inside, whatever may be the OS, okay, it will give the output in its own in the computers, in the system in which it is being compiled. Okay, so it is native compiled. It will generate a bit file with respect to what type of processor it is. Okay, whether it is 32-bit or 64-bit or Windows 10 or Windows XP, okay, or Linux, anything, it will adapt. You have different versions. The ModelSim is supported by all these things. Okay, that is because it is a native compiler. And then these designs, okay, VHDL, Verilog, System Verilog can be simulated, and you have a GUI, graphical user interface, as well as a TCL interface. You can write the script in TCL also, and then you have a project management, and then project management wizard, everything is there, and it support Xilinx also. System C option is also available. Okay, so these are the general features of ModelSim. Now what we are going to use is the student edition, which is available in their website, in the Mentor website. Okay, so in here, if you go here, you will be able to download the student edition, which will work for 6 months. Okay, they will send the license file also, the key also, to your mail ID, and you have to use Internet Explorer. You have to do this with Internet Explorer, then you will be able to download this and start using this. Okay, so there are some limitations with the student edition. So student edition is for academic purpose only, and it will support VHDL and Verilog design separately. But the professional edition will mix it. That is, one module in Verilog, one module can be in VHDL. But here should have if you have a what is it, a hierarchy. If you are having sub modules, everything should be in one particular language. Okay, so it supports both but not mixed. And then the maximum executable code, okay, you can have 10,000 lines of code, but the performance is only 30% of the PE, that is professional edition. Okay, so with this there are many features which is not available, but this is enough for our academic purpose. For the lab purposes it is enough. Okay, so the links for downloading them I have given you. There is a trial version as well as a student edition. Yeah, are you all with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now initially I'll show these pictures and then we'll go for opening the model sim itself for a particular program. Okay. So now this is the graphical user interface. So most of our tools will have the graphical user interface. So here is the main menu. Okay. This is the main menu. As usual, you have the file, and you can open a file or create a new file of different sources and so on. Okay, and then you can edit. Okay, you can compile, view, and then the windows can be, layouts can be changed and so on. Now these are the different windows. Okay, here is the instance, all the all the modules, whatever is there in the work library. So here is the library and the instances, the design instances. Here is the objects are the signals for a particular design. Okay, signals for a particular design. Then a different process is the waveform window, and down you have the transcript or you have the log window. Okay, so here when something is compiled, you will get your error and the other things here in the transcript window. So this is the general GUI. And now for student edition version 10.4, it looks like this. So from file you can go and open a new file. Okay, so here and then when you create a working library in the model sim, you have to name it as work. Okay, your working library will always be named as what? The default name is work, and it will be all your designs will go and sit into this work library. Okay, so installing, it will ask the default name, it will ask us work. You can give yes, and all the programs are compiled into and it is stored in the work library. Okay, so these are the steps before doing. I'm giving you a new file, source and Verilog, and then it will open a editor window, and you can write the code there, and you have to save it in the work library, and then there is a compile option. This is the symbol, GUI symbol for compile option. Okay, otherwise you can go here in the main menu for compile. Otherwise this is the icon for compile. Okay, so there are compile, all the options are there. So compile, and then you have to see to the transcript window for any errors. If there is any errors, debug the errors, and then go to simulate. Okay, and when you go to simulate, it will show your library. You have to go to work and choose your module, and then if you give simulate, the signals will appear. Okay, and then the next step is add to wave. So all the signals in your design you can add to wave. So the signal wave window will open, and then you have to give the values to the inputs, and then you can run. Okay, so create a new file with going to source, option is Verilog, and then write and save it in the work, and then go to compile. Okay, creating a new file, compile it, and then debug, and go to simulate and add wave, and add all the signals in the design. The waveform window will open, and then you have to force. Okay, force for the digital values for the different inputs, and then run it and check the results for the results of the waveform. Okay, so these are the steps as usual. So file, If you go here, source is there. So source can be VHDL or Verilog or system Verilog. Okay. So it accepts all this. The student version accepts these three source codes. Okay. So if you give a Verilog, a window will open. Okay. So this window will open. Editing window will open. So here you can write your program and then you have to save it, okay, in the work library, and then you have to go for compile. Okay, this compile option or this icon. Okay, so compile, and when you give compile, you will get the transcript window. Here you have to check whether there is errors or not. Okay, if error is there, that particular line number will come. You have to go and rectify that. Okay, find out the errors and rectify that. Okay, so now this is the module. XYZ is the name of the module. That module is available here. Okay, so here in the work library, work is the library, and then XYZ is the module name. Okay, so it will be automatically stored in the work library. That's the default. That is the default path. Okay, well, unless you change it, it will be there in the work library. Okay. So now after this, you have to go to simulate, and then you can choose your module, and the module objects means the signals, input output signals will appear here, and then you have to go to add and give add wave. Okay, give add wave, and then this add wave the waveform, when you give add wave, the waveform window will open. Okay, so this window will open, and then you can run it. This is the run button. Okay, so this run button will what is it? In one click, it will go for one simulation time. Okay, one standard time or one simulation time it will go. Okay, so now all the A and B are input signals. Okay. Okay, and this is a old example. We'll see a new example. Okay, so now after this, I have given the introduction. Now I think I'll give an example. I'll give one example for combinational logic and another example for sequential logic. Okay, so this example, most of you know this, but before coding anything, any logic function, digital logic function, we should understand the logic then. Okay, apart from syntax errors, sometimes logical errors we make. Okay, so for logical errors, we should exactly know when the output changes, when the input changes, which controls what, all those things. Okay, where is the condition, where we branch, all these things we should know. Then only you will be able to debug your logical errors. Okay. Okay, so now I have taken a BCD adder. Okay, so usually full adder will take. Full adder is explained. So I took a BCD adder. So now what is a BCD adder? Every one of us know. So BCD. Okay, so BCD numbers means we have numbers from BCD numbers is a 4-bit number, and it will represent numbers from 0 to decimal numbers from 0 to 9. Okay, so as it is a BCD, binary coded decimal number, we have only the 10-bit combinations, 4-bit combinations from 0000 to 1001, which is for 9. Okay, so 0 to 9 we represent in the 4-bit form, representing the 10 decimal digits, and after this you have 1010, 1011. All those 6 combinations are not valid for your BCD numbers. Okay, so for a BCD number, initially the input should be a BCD number that they have to appear in this. They have to be in this order, in this range only. Okay, anything away from this. Okay, the other 6 combinations, if it is appearing, it is not a legal input. Okay, or it's not a correct input. And we are assuming that we are having 2 BCD numbers. Okay, so let us take A and B as 5 and 9. So 5 is 0101. We have to write it in the 4-bit form, and 9 is 1001. Okay, so when you add these two, when 5 and 9 is added, the decimal numbers are added, 14 is the answer. Okay, in decimal, and then when you add these two, you are getting 14 in binary. Okay, so we'll be getting 14 in binary, but this 14 in binary is not a valid BCD code. Okay, so now how 14 is written in a BCD format is, you this one, every decimal digit should be written with 4 bits. That is the format for a BCD number. Okay, so you should write every number, every decimal digit with 4 bits. So if 14 is the number, you should have 4 bits for writing 1 and then 4 bits for writing your 4. Okay, so 0001 is the code for 1 and 0100 is the code for 4. So this is your answer. So when you add two BCD numbers, there is a possibility that you will get one more digit. Okay, so if the number is if the sum is less than 9 or equal to 9, then you can have only 4 bits. If it is greater than 9, okay, then you will have another digit. Now I am talking about single digit BCD addition. Okay, there are multi digit BCD addition also. So single digit BCD addition itself, when you add two single bit two BCD numbers, you may be getting another digit which will be called as a carry, but for the carry also we need 4 bits. So when you add these two numbers, you require 8 bits for the output. Okay, so your inputs are two 4-bit numbers, but your output is a 8-bit number. Okay, so if there is a carry or if there is any, and if the sum is greater than 9, you will have this number as 001, otherwise it will be 0000. Okay, if there is no carry. So anyway you have to accommodate your carry, so you should have 8 bits for your input, for the output. Input, so we can take it as 4 bits. Okay, so now how do you get the correct answer? We all of us know that if the answer is an invalid BCD code, then you have to add 6 for correction. Okay, so we are adding 6 with the answer what we have got. So 0110, when you add this, you will be getting a 0 0, and then 1 and 1 0, there is a carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1, 1, there is a carry 1, again 0, and there is a carry 1. Okay, so you will be getting perfectly 14. So this is the logic, or this is the algorithm for BCD addition, for a single digit BCD addition. Okay, single digit only. Okay, so now when you come for the block diagram, you need two 4-bit binary adders. Okay, because for this addition, here is one addition happening, so this is a 4-bit addition, and now again for correction, if the answer is, you are checking whether the answer is greater than what is it, 9, and if the answer is greater than 9, again you are doing an addition. Okay, so 2 times the addition is happening, so you need here one 4-bit binary adder and here one 4-bit binary adder. Okay, so two 4-bit binary adders. First adder will get the direct inputs A and B, and then carry in, you have to keep it as 0. So when you add these two, you are getting in sum, and you may be having a carry also, that is also taken here. Now if the sum is greater than 9, you are checking whether the sum is greater than 9. So for checking that a sum is greater than 9, you have to see other combinations of other than these 10 combinations. So 1010, 1011, okay, 10 1100. So those are the other combinations. One sec. I don't know whether I am teaching you what you already know, but anyway, that is there. One sec. Okay, pen option is not coming. Okay. I thought I'll write and show. Okay. Okay. So now the other how they are checking whether it is greater than 9 is by checking this bit. So the first bit must be 1, and if this bit, okay, this bit is 1. So if these two bits are 1, then you will be, it is more than at a 1010. Okay. So then it is more than 9. Okay. That is the combinations are 1010 for 10. comma 1 1 0 1 1. Okay, for 11, and then 1 1 1100. Okay, for 12 and so on. So after this everything will be having 1111. Okay, 01 and so on. So now how to check this bit and this bit? Okay, these two bits are 1, either this and this is 1, otherwise the first two bits are 1. Okay, so these are the combinations which will say whether the number is greater than 9. So for this what we are doing is we are checking whether the first two bits are 1 or the first bit MSB bit and the third bit. Okay, this bit. Okay, so if any of these is occurs, okay, you will get a 1 from here and it is coming from a OR gate, and even if there is a carry, then also you have to make the correction. Okay, so if any of these three ones are there, then there will be a carry generated, there is a control signal generated which will say that we'll add 6 here. Okay, so if this particular bit is 1, that will make a 1 here, the other two bits are 0. So this is nothing but 6, 0 1 1 6. Okay, if this is 1, suppose if this is 0, you need not add anything. What you will add here is 0 0 0 0. Okay, so this is the block diagram of a BCD adder. Hope you all follow this. Yeah, so I hope everybody follows this. We have all done this. So this is the methodology, or this is the logic of BCD addition. So now first I am having a program which is a behavioral model program. Okay, so behavioral model is it is actually it will give you small programs. Next I have a structural model also. So in behavioral model you have to just explain the logic in your code, that will be enough. Okay, so now module what is it, XYZ, and these two are the inputs and this is the output. So input X and Y 4-bit numbers, and then output, as I have already explained you, it should be a 8-bit number. Okay, for when you add two BCD numbers, there may be a carry. The carry must be represented by 4 bits. So you need 4 more bits. Okay, so that should be a 8-bit number. And then I am having some internal signals. Okay, 5-bit wire signal W. So not wire. I have declared as register because this is calculated inside the always block. Okay, so if something is calculated, some variable is evaluated inside a procedural block like always block, you have to declare them as a register data type. Otherwise, you will be getting error. Okay, so as W is not given as assign or something, it is given as a a variable here inside this procedural block. We are declaring it as a register. So I need this internal signal. Okay, and then always at X or Y. So if it is a combinational logic circuit, you have to give all your inputs in the sensitivity list. Okay, so always at X and Y are the inputs, so both you have to include here. Okay, if you don't include, there will be some latches introduced in your design. Okay, now begin. So what you have to do first is the first adder. So W is equal to X plus Y. Okay, you are adding the first time. After adding, what you have to check? You have to check whether the value is greater than greater than 9. Okay, so now when you add two 4-bit numbers, there can be a carry, isn't it? That's why I am having a 5-bit number here, right? When I add two 4-bit numbers, there can be a carry, 5th bit can be generated. So in order to accommodate the 5th bit, we are declaring W as 4 down to 0. That is a 5-bit value. So these 5 bits are taken here. Okay, now we have to check whether the least 4 bits is greater than 9. Okay, so if it is greater than 9, what you have to do? You have to add 6. So now we will be adding 6 to this, and then W of 4 will the MSB bit will be 1. Okay, because automatically that will become a 1 because we are doing a correction over here, so definitely there is a carry. The number is greater than 9, so it can be 10 or 11 or 12 or up to 18 or 19 it can be. Okay, so the MSB bit will be 1. So you are doing a correction if this is greater than 9. Okay, so algorithm, or this is the logic what we have written in the always block. And then finally the answer is the output is Z. Now assign Z is equal to the first 3 bits is going to be 0 only. We are sure that the first 3 bits is going to be 0 when you add 2 BCD numbers. Okay, 2 BCD numbers. So the maximum single digit number. So the maximum number is 9. Okay, a single digit maximum BCD number is 9. So another number is 9. So 9 plus 9 will be 18. So for writing the MSB bit is 1. So for writing that you need 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so the first 3 bits are going to be 0, and so I am definitely putting this as 0, and the next 5 bits I am taking from here. Okay, so the next 5 bits is calculated here, so rest of the bits are concatenated here. Okay, so this is my final output. So this is the behavioral model of a BCD adder. Now the same thing can be done following a structural model. So for the structural model we have to just follow the structure of this. Okay, so here there is a 4-bit adder, here there is a 4-bit adder. This 4-bit adder are made of full adders, so we need full adder for that, and then apart from that you are having some gates over here. Okay, so I'm just converting this diagram into a model here. So this is the structural model. So now in the structural model, the basic module what we want is full adder. So the full adder we have written here. Okay, any model. Okay, so 3 inputs and 2 outputs. So anything S is equal to A XOR B XOR okay, C, otherwise X, Y, Z, and then C is this. So we have calculated a full adder, done a full adder here. Using a full adder, we are using a 4-bit adder. Okay, so now this is the 4-bit adder which uses this full adder. Okay, so for a 4-bit adder, you have 2 4-bit numbers A and B, 2 4-bit numbers, 3 down to 0. So 2 4-bit numbers, 1 S which is a 4-bit output, and then 1 C out. Okay, so now by instantiating the full adder 4 times, you make a 4-bit adder. Okay, so this is the 4-bit adder where first bit is the A bit, second bit is the B bit, third bit is your sum out, and the fourth one is the carry in. Okay, so the carry is generated internally. So we need some wires for connecting from one stage to the other stage. Okay, so yeah, this 4-bit full adder is done stage wise. There are 4 full adders connected from one full adder to another full adder, ripple carry. Okay, so the carry is rippled, or the carry is transferred from one stage to the other stage. For that I have declared a 3-bit carry here. Okay, so this is a 4-bit adder. So this is the first module. Then this is the 4-bit adder. Now we can use this 4-bit adder in your BCD adder. So in the BCD adder, again the same inputs I have taken, X, Y and Z, input and output same declaration, and then a wire declaration, and then there is another C out. Okay, if you see the diagram, there is a C out there, and then you are having extra wires. Okay, all these extra wires has to be declared, and then first is a 4-bit adder declared, instantiated. So now this is the instance name. Okay, first module instantiated by the instance name D1, is a user defined only, and then A, B and S and C out. Okay, these are the names we are giving here. These are the names in this module. Okay, A, B, S and C. These are the original signals. Now X, Y and W are the signals here. Okay, in this module. So we are instantiating by name. So A is X now, B is Y now, S is W now, C out is C out. Okay, so this dot and the name of the signal and the name of the signal now. Okay, in this instance. So this is one way of instantiating, and then you need 2 AND gates. So both the AND gates are given here. You need 1 OR gate. After that you need an adder bit. Okay, so now for the adder bit, you have the first bit, you have to add just 6. So it is 0, 1, 1. Okay, and what is it? 0, 1, 1 and then 0. Okay, so this is your second adder, and then the input to the second adder is the output from the first adder, and then carry. Okay, so now here also assign this. So this is a structural model. So now a test bench is also written. So now first I'll go to the simulation of this. I'll show the model sim. Are you all seeing the model sim window? Are you all seeing my desktop?
Just now it is open.
Okay. Okay. So when you open, you will get this model sim. Okay, and you have to go here, file. Is it visible? Maybe it looks very small. I don't know how it is looking. So file, okay, and yeah, new, and then source is Verilog. So now this is the editor window which was opened. Now I have this program here. BCD adder in the behavioral model. Okay, so I am writing it here. Now this first line can be a comment line. Okay, so this is a BCD adder behavioral model. So the same program. Okay, same program I have copied over here. So now BCD, I am just changing the name because I have done it previously also. So BCD example. Okay, I have changed the module name. So now file save as. And what I use, what I practice is usually the file name I'll give the same name as the module name. Okay, that will reduce a lot of confusions, and that is a very standard practice. Okay, so you can give the file name as the module name. So BCD example dot v. Okay, so now it can be stored in. Okay, I'll store it in a work library. Okay, so now work library, save this. So now this is saved into the library, and next step is compile. Okay, so for compiling you can go here or you can go to this icon also. So compile. Now you will be having in work only you have it. So work here you are having the file. Now it is the file name. Okay, now this is the file name. After compiling you will get the module name. Okay, so now this is compiled, and you can see there is no errors here. Okay, suppose I am having an if I don't have this end, if I erase this end, okay, I am saving it again, and if I compile, it will give an error here. Okay, now there are two errors. If you can see, there are two errors here. So the errors, if you scroll up, you will be able to see the errors. So now the errors is in 11. Okay, in this program BCD example dot v line number 11. Okay, there is this kind of, what is it, mismatch. No, it will give, sometimes it will give us some other error also. Okay, if something is missing, it may give some other command, but we have to check it. So now 11 it is saying that LHS in the procedural continuous assignment may not be in it. Okay, so now what it is taking is always block is opening here. There is a begin here. The assign cannot come into an always block. Okay, assign should be outside the always block. You cannot give within the always block. If it is within always block, you can just give z is equal to something. Okay, assign is not required. So assign is not allowed inside the always block. So that's what it is telling. Okay, that's what it is giving the error in 11. 11 is the assign statement. So here an end is missing. So this end. Okay, so if I give this begin and end, now this always block is closed. Okay, now this assign is separate. Assign is a separate statement. It is outside the always block. Now we have begin and end this. Okay, so now again compile. Okay, now there is no errors. So now you have to check the errors and okay, debug and check the errors. After this, okay, now this is the first step we have done. First step is writing the program. Second step is compiling. Okay, so compilation is done. After this, you have to go to simulate. Okay, so now go to this simulate and then start simulation. Sorry. Okay, simulate, start simulation. It will show this libraries. Go to your library, work library. So now here you have to look for the module name. Everything is module. So module name is BCD example. Okay. So BCD EG. Okay. So BCD example is the module name. You give okay. So now it has loaded this module. Okay, so loading from work this BCD example, it is being loaded, and now this is the instance. Okay, instance, this is the time one time we are doing this. So there are two things, one always assignment is there, one assign statement is there. Okay, so these are the instances. Now what you have to do is you have to go to add. Okay, this is already selected. Now you have to go to add to wave. Okay, add to wave all the items in the design. Okay, so now the waveform window is open. So now if the waveform window is open, you will be having your inputs and outputs coming over here. Okay, and now what are your X, Y and Z are the input and outputs. So now what is the speciality with your model sum is, okay, if you give add to wave all the items in the design, you will be able to see the internal registers also. That is now W in the program. W is an internal register. It is not an input, it is not an output. But if you see the Xilinx and all, you will be able to see only your inputs and outputs coming over there. Okay, the internal things will not come. So if there is anything wrong, you will be able to check your internal signals. So where it has gone wrong, okay, which logic has gone wrong, that you can check in modelsum very easily. Okay, okay. So now how to give the inputs? You have to select the input signals. You can select all the input signals using control and pressing on the signal. Okay, so now these two are the input signals. So right click, okay, right click and force. So now you are going to force values into this. Now it is asking in hexadecimal form only. Okay, finally we'll change. Now you have to think that you are giving a decimal number, BCD number. Okay, so give a number which is within 9. So I have given 8. Okay, and then y is equal to 4. So 8 plus 4 we are going to give. So now these two numbers we have given, and now I am going to change the radix. Now all the radix are you can change the radix in the waveform. So all these three signals I want to see it in binary format. Then only we can check whether we are correct. Okay, so radix is binary. Okay, so now this is your this is now in the binary format. Okay, now go here and run. So run. Okay, so now we have given 8 and what is it? 4, 8 and 4. Now the answer is 1, 2. Okay, the answer, I don't know whether it is visible. It is very small here. Okay, so now 0001 and 0010, which is nothing but 1 2. In hexadecimal it is showing here 1 2. Okay, so this is the answer. Now if you want to change the inputs again, both the inputs you can take by control signal, selecting the control signal and then force. Okay, instead of this, if 9 9 and 5 again Okay, so now the answer is 9 and 5. When you add these two, you are getting 14. 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, and then 0, 1, 00. Okay, 14. Okay, if I again change this to a number which will not get a carry, 7 plus 2. Okay, 7 plus 2. So 7 and 2, when you add, you are getting 9. Okay, so first 4 bits are 0, and then the last 4 bit is 100. Okay, so 09 is the answer. So this is your output. Okay, so for various cases you can check your output. Now the same thing, instead of forcing this, you can write another one which is called as a test bench. Okay, so now writing a test bench. So test bench will be easier when you modify your program again. You need not force it again and again. Okay. So writing a test bench is a very good practice. A very good practice for simulating your digital design. Okay. It is very simple also. So what is a test bench is, you have to give the stimulus to your input. Now right now we gave it by forcing the values. Okay, instead of forcing the values, if you give the values, the different combinations in a program, in a Verilog program, that is called as a test bench. Now this test bench program will be a higher module. Okay, hierarchically it is in an upper level to your to the module which you are testing. Okay, so for the BCD adder you are writing a test bench. So the BCD adder is instantiated within the test bench. Okay, so it comes within that. Okay, so there are two programs now. One is the test BCD. Okay, so usually for the test bench programs, we used to add the names as test or TB or something like that. Okay, so that we understand that it is a test bench program. So this test bench programs are only for simulation. We cannot synthesize the test bench program. Okay, so test underscore BCD, and there will be no inputs and outputs for a test bench program, and there will be register all your inputs in the program which you are instantiating. Okay, which you are testing. You have to give it as register. That is in here you are having input XY. The input should be declared as a register here, and then the output should be declared as a wire. So these are the procedure. This is the procedure for writing a test bench. Module name, no signals for your input and output. All your input in the original module should be declared as register, and all the output should be declared as a wire. Okay, and then instantiate your module, instantiate the testing module, tested module. So BCD UUT. Okay, UUT is the instance name. So unit under test, and then X, Y, Z are the values. Signals. And now you give different values to your X and Y for the inputs. So begin, X is equal to something, Y is equal to some value, and after 2, okay, after 2 time units, X is equal to this. So you can go on giving different cases for this. Okay, so this is also okay. So I have the test bench program. If I want, I can run that program also. File, open. Okay, this is the test program, test BCD. Now here we have given it as EG. Okay, so test. This is the module which I am instantiating. Okay, I have given A, B, and yes. Okay. Okay. So this program also we can simulate and see. Okay. So save and then compile, test BCD. I think this is the program, and now come to simulate. Test BCD is the module name. Error loading the program. OTS is not error here. OTS is not found in the connected module, third connection. Okay, here it is X, Y, Z. Maybe I have taken a different program. Okay, okay, here I have the names X, Y, Z. Okay. Okay, let me see. What is the error? Test BCD V1 near T, there is an illegal numerical constant. Okay, there is some error in that. I actually, what is it, commented that line. Okay. So now we can run this test BCD1. So test BCD1 is the program. Here also we can select okay, test BCD is the module name. That's the problem. See, when we have, okay, when you have the program name and the module name is the same, we will not have any confusion. But if it is different, we'll have a problem in this. So you can select here also and then simulate. And what I'm going to simulate is again test BCD. Okay. Okay, test BCD is here. Now add to wave all items in the design. So now the waveform window has opened. Okay. So now the advantage is you need not open this. What is it? You need not force here. Instead of that, you can directly run here. Okay. You can directly run this program. Okay. The change is not visible because of the time scale. So the last value, I think the last value is available. 9 plus 2, 11. Okay. So you can just click here and then you will be able to see your waveform, your answers. Every time you need not force it again and again. Okay, so that is the advantage of having a test bench. Okay, doubts up to this? After this, we'll see one what is it, sequential logic. Anything, any doubts up to this? Have you? How many of you have already used model sim? Anyone who have already used model sim, or is this new to you or already known to you? Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to move to a combinational logic design. Okay. So combinational logic design, sequential logic design. So sequential logic, I have taken one example of what is it, sequence detector. Okay. So sequential logic, we start with flip-flops, and there are so many counters, okay, shift registers. There are so many standard sequential logic for which we do the program or Verilog modeling. Okay, so finally we'll come up to the state machine. So in the state machine design, the very common problem is to design a state machine for finding out a sequence, okay, or checking a sequence. Okay, so here there is a sequential design. So this sequential design, here is the problem statement. It is the problem statement goes like this. It is required to implement a digital lock. So this digital lock will accept a specific bit sequence 110 100. Okay, so this 6-bit sequence should appear, then only you will be able to go through, you will be able to get a unlock signal. Okay, this sequence is coming one after the other, okay, serially. So there is a input signal B in, okay, serially it comes in synchronization with the negative edge of a input clock. So this at every negative edge only it is being checked. So B in is checked, and if B in shows 110 100, then the clock's unlock signal should go high. Otherwise, the unlock signal will be 0. Okay, and active clear signal will be used to reset the lock at any time. Okay, an active low signal, and this is an asynchronous signal. Asynchronous signal means it need not be in synchronous with the clock. Anytime it can appear. Anytime when a clear signal goes low, this will reset the lock to the initial or what is the default state. Okay, so now for this we need to draw a state diagram. So the advantage in writing Verilog is once you understand the sequential design, and once you draw the state diagram, either it is Mealy machine or Moore machine, you will be able to write the code for this. Okay, so now we are writing the Moore machine for this, and drawing a Moore machine for this. So now I want 110 100. So let the initial state be S0. Okay, so S0 is the initial state. Whenever clear occurs, it will come back to the initial state. Okay, so let us start with the initial state S0, and you want 110 100. So this is the sequence you want. So it will go through all the that many number of states will be there if it is a Moore machine. Okay, so 110 100. So this six states will be there. So apart from the initial state, there are 6 states because it comes in a different order. So when the bit is 1, it moves to a state S1. Okay, but the output is 0. And then if there is another state, it moves to another one, it moves to another state S2, but the output is 0. Okay, and now at S1, After receiving 1, if 0 comes, it has to go to the initial state. Okay, because this 1 is of no use, it has to go back to the initial state. And now when it has received 1 and 1, okay, again if it is receiving a 1, it can be there in the same state, because double 1, you want double 1, but you have got triple 1. Okay, but anyway you can stay in the same state because 2 ones have already come, but the next 0, you are waiting for the next 0 there. So if there is a 1 over here or 1 here, you will be there in the same state. If there is a 0, then you will move to the next state. Okay, S3. So you will move to the next state. And then if there is a 1, you will move to the next state, S4. So 1, 1, 0, you have come to S3. So at this point, if you get 1, you move on to the next state. If there is a 0, okay, no use. So you will go to the initial state again. Okay, S0, you will go to S0 again. And then at S4, if you get a 0, you will be here. Okay, you will go to the next state. Okay, but at S4, if there is a 1 coming, okay, that line is missing, it has to go to S2. That is, S2 is 2, receiving 2 ones. So 1 and 1, if you have received 1 and 1, it has to go to S2. So it will go to S2 here. And if it is a 0, it will be S5. And then at S5, if you receive a 0, it will go to S6, where the output becomes 1. Otherwise, the output is 0. In all the other states, the output is 0. Okay. So at S6 only, you have received 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. So the output becomes 1. And then after this, whatever may be the input, it goes to the initial state. And from here, if the chain breaks, again it goes to the initial state. Here the chain breaks, it goes to the initial state. So this is the Murray machine. Okay, so this is the Murray machine state diagram for the sequence what we want. So once we have this diagram, you can directly write your program for this. Okay, so when I write the program, yeah, whether it is visible. It's very small. Okay. Okay. So now module DLock. The name of the program is DLock, and then you have unlock is the output, BN is the input, clear is an input, clock is an input. Okay. So as clock is an input, it is a sequential circuit, and all the state machine, they are depend on the clock. Okay. So when the clock is coming, then there will be a change, otherwise there will be no change. So every change happens with respect to the clock only. Okay. At the clock point. So now you are having input, okay, clear, clock, clear and BN, and then output is unlock. Okay, now there are S0 to S6, 7 states are there. Now all these states you will be doing a state assignment. Okay, that is a binary bit assignment you will do for the state. No, that you have to do it here using parameter. So parameter, that is a step, that is a procedure. Okay, so now the state assignment can be done using parameter. So parameter S0, okay, you have to give a 3-bit assignment because the number of states is 7. So 7 for encoding 7 states, you need a 3-bit. Okay, if it is only 4 states, you need a 2-bit assignment. If it is more than 2 states, less than 8 states, you have to use a 3-bit assignment. So you are using a 3-bit assignment. So S0 is equal to 3-D0, and then S1 is equal to 3-D1, and so on. Okay, and then S4 is equal to 4, S5 is equal to 5, and S6 is equal to 6, and so on. So you define all the states with the like a parameter. Okay, and then you have to declare register variable for the present state and the next state. Okay, so there is a okay, you have, okay, 2 down to 0 will be enough. Okay. So state and next state. Okay, here is a mistake. 2 down to 0 is enough because you need a 3-bit assignment. Okay. So state and next, and then always at passage clock or negate clear. Okay. If you want passage clock or negate clock, you can change accordingly. Passage clock or negate clear. If not clear, okay, clear must be 0 to clear everything. Okay, that is the logic given in your in the problem statement. So when clear is 0, then the state will be your initial state. Okay, and else state will be the next state. So if clear occurs, the state goes to the initial state, yes not. So state is your next state. State means the present state, next means the next state. So you are calculating the next state and the present state according to the logic. So when clear comes, the present state is yes not, else the state will change to the next state. And how it will change? It will change according to what comes in in begin. Okay, so always at state or begin. So when the state variable changes or the input variable changes, okay, your state machine depends on the state variable values and the input values. So when the state changes or the begin changes, begin, okay, default value for next state is yes not. Okay, and then for every state change you can write a state case statement. So case state, okay, at yes not, if begin is 1, it goes to S1, else it stays in the same state. Similarly, at S1, if begin is 1, it goes to next state, else it goes back to S0. If S2, if begin is 1, then it stays in S2 itself, else it goes to S3. Okay, so now all these things, all these statements we have written according to this diagram only. So from S0, what happens when begin is 1, begin is 0. At S1, what will happen if begin is 1, begin is 0. So all those things are written as a case statement. If begin means if begin is high. So if this is high, it goes here. If else means it is low. So else it will do this. So this statements will account for the state changes according to the input begin. Okay. Now in case default value already we have given the, okay, and then end. Okay, now what is your unlock is your output. So when the unlock should go high, when if state is equal to S6, unlock will go high. Okay, otherwise unlock signal will be 0. So as given in the diagram, this output signal is high only at S6, otherwise it will be a 0. Okay, so this is the program for your state machine. Okay, so this program can also be simulated in model sim. Okay, file, new source, Verilog. I have the program here in Word file, sequence detector. Okay, so this is the sequential detector, and now the state is only a 3-bit state. No? So 2 down to 0. Okay, so 2 down to 0. Module DLock. Okay, I'm going to give another name because I tried it again previously. So DLock 1. Okay, this is the name I have given. So file save as. I'm going to save here. Okay, anywhere I can save DLock1.v. Okay, so this is the name I'm giving. I'm saving it here. So DLock1.v is the file name. File name is shown here. DLock1.v is the file name, and DLock1 is the module name. So I want to have my file name and the module name the same. Okay, now you compile this. So now compile. What do you compile? DLock. Where is DLock1? No. It is available outside in the examples. So DLock1 is the file name. I am compiling this. Okay, there is no errors. Okay, the transcript window has changed like this. There is no error, so it is being compiled. Okay, so now I want to simulate this. So simulate and start simulation. It will show the work library. You can go and see DLOC1. DLOC1 is the module which I want to compile. So I have given, yeah. So DLOC1 is loaded. This could be closed. DLOC1 is loaded. Okay, so DLOC1 is loaded now. Now this is my instance. Okay, now I am going to add this to the waveform. So add to wave designs all the items in the design. Okay, so now these are the signals in my DLOC. So clock, reset, begin, unlock, state, and next are the internal signals. So this is my what is it, signals in my design. So now first thing, now I am going to force only. So now in the first thing, clock is equal to what is it, you cannot force any value, you have to give a clock signal here. Okay, so force clock, and the clock is already defined, some default clock is there. Okay, duty cycle 50 and period 100. So we can give this. Okay, okay, and then first you give clear should be 0 to clear it. Okay, so give 0 here, and then some value for your begin also. Okay, let it be 1. Okay, clear is 0, so your state will be 0. As long as clear is 0, the state will not change. State will be 0. Okay, now I am going to deactivate this. So how to deactivate the clear signal here for this particular problem statement? If clear is 1, it's not going to clear. Okay, now clear is 1 and begin I am going to keep it as 1 itself. Okay, so now clear is 1 and the state has moved from what is it, the state from 0 state to 1 state. Okay, now again I am going to keep this as 1. Begin is 1. Okay, so begin I am not going to change, so again it is 1. Now we'll see, we want the sequence now, so I'll give the sequence. So 1 and now it is 0 1 1 0. Okay, 0. Okay, so I'll give 1 clock pulse, and now again I'll change this 1 0 1. Okay, and then 0 we want 0 0, give 1 clock pulse. Okay, and another 0 is required, so give 2 clock pulse. Okay, and then it can be anything. Okay, so now see your unlock signal has become high here. Okay, so if you see the input has 1 1 0 1 0 0. Okay, 1 1 0 1 0 0. So after the unlock signal has become high, so it is detecting the sequence, it is detecting at the passage. Okay, in the program if you give it as neg edge, it will detect it at the neg edge. Okay, the state is changing from 0 to 1 state, 2 state. Okay, and then there is 2 1s here, so it remains in the same state, and then state 3, state 4, state 5. Okay, and then again back to state 6. The output is this, next state will be 0. Okay, so there is present state and next state, both the signals are available here, which will not be available in your Xilinx ISE and all. Okay, so that is the advantage of this using this model. So you will be able to see the internal signals. These two signals, state and next state, they are internal signals which is available here. Okay, so with this I have finished both the examples. Yeah, any questions are there? Any queries are there? Any questions?
Queries from participant side?
Yeah, I just finished, and queries. Any queries are there? Otherwise, we can wind up.
Hello? Any queries? Participants, please. Ma'am, if
Ah,
you have any
yes.
queries, can you wind up the session, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Is there any queries? Please, you are free to ask your doubts or clarify your doubts. Yes, ma'am. Then we
Okay.
can wind up the session, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
On behalf
Okay.
of SRM Valiam Engineering College and Department of ECE, I take this opportunity and thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation on usage of hands-on training in model sim tools. General Verilog, how to program things. So it is very quite useful for beginners who are coming into the top Verilog design, ma'am. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation, and your training was very useful, ma'am. And so we will wind up as of now, ma'am.
Okay.
Stop the
Thank
recording.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
See you. Okay.
Thank you.